Well, hello and welcome to all of our viewers around the world. I'm Fiona Lang-Sharp, IBCLC Director of Communications and MC here at Gold Learning. Well, I'm very excited to be here with you today because we are talking all about our Gold Neonatal Online Conference, which is coming up here in 2025. How did that happen again? I don't know. It seems to come around so quickly, and we've been building some incredible momentum with fabulous presentations, as you know. And one of them, well, we have our guest speaker here today, Dr. Céleste Johnston, who is going to be here with us talking about assessing and alleviating neonatal pain, the role of nonverbal indicators and non-pharmacological interventions. Welcome, Celeste. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Well, this is a topic that this is a topic that has a lot of sustainability in the sense that people want to know more about it over and over again. And I know that in the early days of the neonatal units, it was something that was still very much a mystery. It was treated completely different than what it is today. And I love that well, I have had inside scoop to your presentation, Celeste. So I know how incredible your work is, and so we appreciate that. But for all of our viewers listening in today, I wanted to just get into a little bit, and I'll have you tell us a little bit about yourself in a minute. But I wanted to dive right into this topic, right at the top here, just to ask you a little bit about your experience, especially when it comes to our parents, because it's different today for them in the NICU than it has been in the past. So tell me, in your experience, what's one of the simple but powerful way parents can be involved in supporting their baby's comfort during painful procedures?
Essentially, if the parents are present, and they are options, several options that they can do. But in one study, we found that when the parents were present, the staff were more likely to do pain alleviating interventions than
Mm,
when the parents were not there. So just being there is one. Touching the baby in a gentle way, such as facilitated tucking, which is very helpful during the procedure. And of course, if the baby could come out of the incubator, to hold the baby in the kangaroo care position is something that is actually relatively easy to do.
mm,
So, but really, they're being there. One time I remember a father was there in the NICU and the baby was desaturating and he had a heel lance and he was really heavy. They were giving him oxygen. They were trying to settle him. And while they were doing that, the father slipped in and put two fingers on the baby's back and just right in front of you, up went the SATs. And it was just
wow.
really remarkable. So parental presence is, I think, the key. And then
Mm.
there are lots of options after that.
That's incredible. Tell me, what's the education like when it comes to that? Because this is obviously something that is in the research. We know that it's making a significant difference. So, what does the communication look like today, perhaps in policy and practice? Do you know that we're following through on this? We're asking parents, we're describing this to parents, and we're encouraging them to be there. What's happening right now?
Well, it typically is now included in guidelines for practice in the unit. Like it'll
Hmm.
be in the welcome message to the parents. Whether it's implemented or not is another story.
Sure.
And I find that that really depends on the personalities of who's on,
Mm,
who's the neo in charge that during that day or who the staff are. But in some units, and I'll talk about this at the end of towards the end of my presentation, in some units, it really is the culture to
right.
include the parents in everything. And in units that have single rooms for each baby, then that tends to be easier to implement.
I love that so much. All right, let's take a little bit of a dive into your research because this is something that I know that you value so much and you share a lot of this. So, could you just share maybe something, a moment in your research or clinical work that was really a highlight for you and the importance of nonverbal indicators in neonates? If you can even pick out one, because that's
Right.
going to be maybe hard, but let me know something that really stood out for you.
Essentially, the nurses in the NICU, I was working with toddlers and school-age children for their pain relieving things that they could do. And I wasn't in the NICU at that time. And the nurses asked me to come and meet with them because they said they couldn't convince anyone, any of the attending, that the babies were in pain. And
Wow.
could I help them do that? So I said, sure, I'll look up pain measures for babies. And there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. This was 40 years ago. There was no measure of pain. So
Mm,
that started the whole procedure, and that was like 40 years ago. But so it's interesting how the field has evolved, and I've been lucky enough to be part of a lot of the research that's gone on, but it's growing, and there was a time when there were maybe 20 of us that were doing research in pain in neonates, and now it's in the hundreds. So it's great.
mm. That's incredible. That really is. So it's always interesting because I think as individuals, sometimes we don't think that maybe we have a voice or perhaps if there isn't that practice, but yet it took just some nurses, some very special ones to reach out
Yes,
and ask, just
yes,
ask if
yeah.
they could do that, which is really incredible. So I think that's definitely the power. And I know that this is a subject that has changed. We do have some of the answers. We have a better understanding and knowledge, but yet I mentioned, still some of the challenges are, who's on staff, what the personality's like, and of course our families, our parents who are sometimes in sort of the midst of a traumatic event in their life, that they often think that they're going to break something or, it's a completely foreign environment for them as well. So lots and lots to take into consideration. All right, let's wind back because you, my friend, have a very extensive career in this area, and I want you can you just tell folks a little bit about, first of all, where you are in the world and what it looks like for you today, but also spanning your career, what really inspired you to be in this field and become so passionate about sharing about it?
Well, I think the fact that I discovered nothing had been done about pain in infants was the motivation to start
Mm,
doing things. And as I started doing research, I started discovering things that I didn't know and had to pursue that. You just had to find out what the answers were. Not that I found all the answers, but and other people that became involved in the area that it's so the very first meeting that I presented pain even in children, there was a small room of about 5 presenters in the world. This was a world congress on pain,
wow.
and now there's an international meeting on pediatric pain every 2 years, and that is attended by several hundred, close to 1,000 people who come to that meeting. And a good portion of that meeting is on neonates. And
Mm.
similarly, in neonatal meetings, there now are tracks for 1 or 2 days just on pain and pain management. So that's very exciting to see that as well.
So have we reached the end of the research? Is there still more to learn in this area, Celeste? Like,
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Of
yes.
course, there's always lots to learn. Always lots to learn. I think that the areas that are of interest are trying to see, and this will come out in my presentation, which is the best system, what's the best approach to measure pain in infants, because they don't always give the same answer. And so
Right.
we're left trying to make a decision about what is the real answer. And
Mm,
the other thing is implementation research or practice changes. How do we get units to do pain management, to do pain assessment and pain management? Some units are stellar, and they you would just not know there was a problem. But other units you walk in and it's shocking, and that's even today.
right.
So that's and the research of how do you do that?
Mm. Well, I love this topic so much because not only it's very personal to me since I had one of my children in the NICU and it was many moons ago, Celeste, but I still hear the same stories,
Mhm.
coming out of the NICU. So I know that there's work to be done and we're so appreciative of those who do speak up, look for more research and continue to learn. So thank you so much for being part of this journey. For so many you've inspired. And I'm looking forward to your presentation once again titled Assessing and Alleviating Neonatal Pain, the Role of Nonverbal Indicators and Non-Pharmacological Interventions with Dr. Céleste Johnston. Thank you so much for being with me here today, Celeste. It's been wonderful chatting with you.
Thank you. Looking forward to the presentation and the
Absolutely.
questions that come.
Yes, that's right. Celeste is going to be with us here live at Gold Neonatal, and you can find all the details online now at goldneonatal.com. You can head over to the website and check out everything that's happening there for this up and coming conference. We'll look forward to seeing everybody online. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone. Bye bye for now.